Welcome to today's session on continuous accounting with Sage 300 and Orchid. My name's Steve, and today I'm joined by Anne and Natalie. First of all, a brief summary of Orchid. Orchid has over 7,000 sites in over 80 countries around the world. We've been in business for over 30 years. We have over 450 Sage business partners actively deploying and supporting our modules. We're based in Sydney, Australia. We've won a number of industry awards over the years. We have a number of add-ons for Sage 300 that we'll be talking about today. And on average, we have 2 modules per site. Accounting has always been a continuous process, closing the books and reconciling, analyzing and reporting on the last financial period when the next one has already commenced. The term continuous accounting has crept in relatively recently, often in the context of modern accounting systems. This webinar will run through what it means, what are the benefits, and adapting existing systems and processes in Sage 300 to achieve some of those benefits rather than starting from scratch. Continuous accounting means using automation to fully process financial events in real time with the ultimate objective of doing away with manual, period-based accounting processes. Key features in a fully realized implementation include real-time or close to real-time processing. Transactions are processed continuously as they occur. Automation. Routine accounting tasks such as reconciliations and journal entries are automated using technology. Integration. The seamless data flow between accounting and other business processes and systems. Now, benefits could include improved accuracy. The automation should mean greater consistency, reducing or eliminating human error. Timely insights. Continuous monitoring and analysis of financial data can enable quicker identification of trends, issues, or anomalies. Risk management and compliance. Early detection of errors and discrepancies can also reduce financial and fraud risks while supporting regulatory compliance. Enhanced stakeholder confidence. Stakeholders have more trust in the accuracy and currency of financial reports. And efficiency and value gains. Automating repetitive tasks can free up accountants to focus on higher value activities like analysis and strategic planning, rather than period-end reconciliations and procedures. Where to start? Is it all or nothing? Could you keep your tried and trusted accounting system while seeking to implement incremental changes that could realize some of the benefits? If so, what steps might you take to go down that path? Well, how about auditing your existing accounting processes and identifying potential candidates for real-time transaction processing, integration, and reporting? Seeing if your current accounting software has relevant automation capabilities that you aren't taking full advantage of. Looking for established third-party add-ons that could help close those gaps. Thinking about low-hanging fruit that might warrant limited bespoke customization, and implementing changes, bedding them down, and then returning to step 1 and iterating through the lot again. Leveraging the capabilities of your traditional accounting software, plus the judicious use of third-party modules, can allow you to gradually transition towards continuous accounting principles, improving efficiency, accuracy, and responsiveness in financial management. Now let's see how Sage 300 core modules can help us with continuous accounting. In Common Services, what we can do in the fiscal calendar area is determine which months are open and which ones aren't. At any point in time, we can have as many periods open as we like, both in the current financial year and in previous financial years as well. which greatly facilitates continuous accounting as we can process two multiple periods at once. Once we've finished with one particular month or there are additional entries through, we can just continue with the following period without needing to worry about closing it out first. In the general ledger, we can hold up to 99 years of data, fiscal sets and transaction details, and we can post back to any year in the past, and your retained earnings account or accounts will be updated accordingly. So when you get to the end of a financial year, there's no need to hold off from going into the next year until such time as everything is complete. You can process two multiple years and periods at once. In addition to that, we can run multiple reports at any point in time in the past. So here we're looking at the trial balance report, and we can run that at the end of any month and year, going back for as far in time as you have data. We can also run other reports like transaction listings and general ledger financial reports in the past. In inventory control, we can specify when information flows up to the general ledger and when items get costed. And once again, there are reports that we can run at a point in time in the past. There's no need to run reports and then close off and move into the new fiscal period. What we can do is run those reports at any point in time in the future, and it'll reconstitute what the position was at that point in time in the past. Here we're looking at the item valuation report. Accounts receivable. What we're looking at here is when general ledger transactions are created, and here we've specified during posting. So as the subsidiary ledger gets posted, as in this case accounts receivable, the general ledger will receive that information as well. And we can run important reports like the age trial balance report at a point in time in the past, so we can continue with future periods without having to finalize and complete reports first. Accounts payable is very similar. We can specify when transactions go through to the general ledger and update the general ledger, and we can go back and run reports at any time in the past. Let's look at where Orchid Sage add-ons could help you take that journey. For reconciliations, journal entries, data imports, task scheduling, and predefined workflows, you could look at the Inter-Entity Suite, Process Scheduler, and Extender. To integrate your ERP with other systems where financial data originates or is processed, such as CRM and bank feeds, you could look at Process Scheduler, Extender, and EFT processing. To configure dashboards and reporting tools to provide real-time insights into financial performance, you could look at Report Runner, Info Explorer, Process Scheduler, Extender, and optional tables. To set up alerts and notifications to flag anomalies or discrepancies in real time, you could look at Report Runner, Info Explorer, Process Scheduler, and Extender. To facilitate real-time communication and information sharing among finance teams and other departments, you could look at Notes, Document Management Link, and Extender. And to ensure that stakeholders have access to relevant financial information and reports as needed, you could look at Report Runner, Info Explorer, and Process Scheduler. Now we'll run through a brief overview of the key Orchid products mentioned here and how they can help with continuous accounting. First of all, Inter-Entity. Inter-Entity provides tight control over transactions spanning multiple entities in Sage 300. It streamlines processing, eliminating duplicate data entry, increases the accuracy of your financial data, and the accountancy staff of large groups have reported that real-time period-end closeout is possible due to Inter-Entity. Inter-Entity transactions, the first of the two Inter-Entity modules, allows you to automatically keep loan accounts in balance in real time at the general ledger level. Offsetting loan account entries are automatically generated, and works with all subledgers, including banks. The second module, Inter-Entity Trade, is used when related entities trade products or services with each other, and reciprocal documents are automatically generated for you, saving time and reducing period required for closeout. Anne will now run through Inter-Entity and give you some examples of how Inter-Entity can be used to achieve continuous accounting.
In terms of continuous accounting, because inter-entity transactions automates the required loan account entries or bank entries or AP or AR entries in all entities at the time the source transaction is posted, it provides real-time results which are both automated and integrated. That is, when the source transaction is posted, be it an AP invoice which results in an expense distribution to other entities, an AR invoice which results in revenue allocation to other entities, allocation of management fees across subsidiaries, bank transfers between entities, or the allocation of payments or receipts across multiple entities. By automating the loan account entries in the source entity and the expense or revenue or bank entry with the associated loan account entries in the target entity, the balances in all entities are updated in real time. I'm now going to demonstrate expense distribution and an example of a group's receivable report across multiple entities. In Orc Limited, I'm going to enter and post my AP invoice for the office suppliers, a portion of which needs to belong to Orc 2 and Orc 3. Orc Limited is Entity 1, and $4,000 of the office supplies for the customer event belong to Entity 1, whereas $3,000 belongs to Entity 2 and $2,000 belongs to Entity 3. I'm going to attach the invoice for these office supplies so that this document is visible in Entity 1, but I'm also naming it such that it will be visible in Entity 2 and Entity 3. And I'm using Document Management Link to attach the document, and in this case I'm using File Share, but this could have been uploaded into SharePoint. And when we go ahead and post this transaction, because I have accounts payable and general ledger and inter-entity all set to auto-post, the transactions have been created both in the source company against the loan account between Entity 1, 2, and 3, and in the target company with the loan account with Entity 1 in Entity 2's books and with Entity 1 in Entity 3's books. So just checking that. When the AP invoice was posted in the GL, the due to and due from loan account entries between Entity 1 and 2 was updated with the $3,000, and between Entity 1 and 3 with the $2,000, and then the transactions belonging to Entity 2 and 3 have been reversed out of this company. And when we go across into Entity 2, we see the batches created for $300. So $300 to the expense account and to the loan account with Entity 1, and here we have access to the original source document. And similarly in Entity 3, when we open the GL batch, we see the debit to the expense account for $2,000 and the credit to the loan account with Entity 1, and we still have access to the same document in Entity 3. So all these documents were created and posted in real time, and using the inter-entity transactions account balance inquiry, we can see that the loan accounts between the two different entities, in this case between 1 and 3, between 4 and 2, 1 and 2, etc., are all in balance. So the loan account entries and the target document entries are created in real time. It's automated and integrated, and they are posted immediately. If you have the same customers and vendors across multiple companies or entities, you can use the IET Consolidate AR Age Trial Balance and the IET Consolidated AP Age Trial Balance. If the customer codes or vendor codes are not the same across the multiple entities, they can be mapped. And once mapped, you can go ahead and run the Consolidated Age Trial Balance across accounts receivable or across accounts payable. And in my case, the customer codes are the same. So we get the balances from Company 2, Company 3, Company 4, and Org Limited, all being reported on at the same time. In terms of continuous accounting, because inter-entity trade automates the required target transactions when the source transaction is created or amended, it provides real-time results which are both automated and integrated, keeping the intercompany balances in sync at all times. That is, depending whether you're using AP to AR, AR to AP trade, or OE to PO, PO to OE trade, when the AP documents in the source company are posted, the mirrored AR documents in the target company are posted, or vice versa, AR to AP. Or if you're using OE to PO, when the PO documents in the source company are posted, the mirrored OE documents in the target company are posted, and vice versa. By automating the mirrored transaction in the target database in real time, the inter-entity company balances are in sync at all times. I'm now going to do a demonstration creating a PO in the source company and automating an SO in the target company. And then when I ship and invoice the sales order, inter-entity trade is automatically going to create the matched PO receipt and PO invoice. When you create a purchase order for a vendor which has been mapped in inter-entity trade to a target company / customer combination, in my case to customer 9001 in Orchid 2, when you create the transaction, it will automatically create the mirrored transaction in the target database. In this case, it's created sales order number 91 in Orchid 2. And I'm going to use Extender and Document Management Link. So Extender to create the PDF of the purchase order and email it to the vendor. So Orchid 2 will get this purchase order emailed to them. And Document Management Link to display this source document in the source company. And then when I go to Orchid 2 to have a look at the sales order, so sales order 91 has been created for the appropriate items and quantities, and we can see the original PO, which we have been emailed as well. And based on our configuration, if we amend the sales order, it will go back to the associated purchase order and amend it accordingly each time you post an amendment. So your intercompany transactions are kept in sync at all times. And back in Orchid 2, if I ship all and invoice, when these documents are created in Orchid 2, inter-entity trade will automatically create a receipt for the shipment and apply it to the original sales order, and then a purchase invoice for the sales invoice that has just been created. So invoice 81 has created invoice 81 because my configuration I sent through the invoice number. And if we go back into our source company to look at that purchase order or purchase receipt, Receipt 902 was applied to purchase order 52 for 5 and 10. And invoice 81 was applied to receipt 102 and purchase order 52 for 5 and 10 accordingly. So using inter-entity trade at all times, you can keep the interrelated transactions in sync. So when you create the PO, it creates the SO. If you amend either the SO or the PO, the reciprocal or mirrored document would be amended. And when you ship an invoice, the documents are received and invoiced accordingly. In that way, keeping your intercompany balances equal at all times.
Now, moving on to EFT processing. EFT processing lets you streamline Sage 300 payments and receipts. With payments, you can pay vendor invoices, you can streamline customer refunds, receipts, you can use direct debit for recurring rents, subscriptions, etc. And on the payroll front, you can pay employees by EFT if you're running the Sage 300 US or Canadian payrolls. Features and benefits include increased accuracy, security, auditability, and speed of transaction cycles, supports remote working in the paperless office, emailing of remittance advices, payslips, remuneration statements, numerous security features including encryption of bank account details. Faster processing means happier customers, vendors, and employees, and hundreds of bank file formats are supported, and new ones can be created on request. The cost savings mean a quick return on investment. There's savings on bank transaction fees, no more expensive paper check stationery, reduced printing, handling, and postage costs, and automatic EFT file creation avoids duplicate data entry and assists with automation and the move towards continuous accounting. Let's now have a look at how EFT processing can be used.
In terms of continuous accounting, business process automation to ensure timeous action is really important. And one of the important business processes is the approval of EFT details for vendors or customers or employees. EFT processing, using security groups and EFT options, allows for the separation of duties between groups of users who can enter and amend the EFT details and those who can approve the EFT details. But the alerting or notification of outstanding tasks or results of approvals are all manual. The approvers need to search for which records need approval. And because you cannot create an EFT file for a vendor, customer, or employee if the EFT bank details are not active, data entry users need to review the records to see which ones have been approved or rejected. They do not get any automated notification of the results of the review. But using Extender, either the notifications functionality or the workflow functionality using workflow templates, you can implement tailored automated business processes around the approval of EFT details. Extender allows for automated notifications of outstanding tasks and automated results of the approvals, with full visibility of outstanding tasks and an auditability of processes done. Using Extender, we can create a workflow template for new and amended EFT vendors and customers' details. And the template can follow any flexible business process in terms of the approval process. You could have a single level approval or multi-level approvals. You could have approvals in serial, so after Anne approves, then Steve must approve, or 2 approvals or 3 approvals in parallel. So these 3 users need to do the approval, but in any order. The approvers can be notified via email when there are records for them to approve, and they have a workflow console to view all their outstanding tasks. And with remote action, you could approve the changes on an external website and not have to log into Sage 300 to do the approval. Or with Workflow Anywhere, you can approve using a mobile device, and you can use either a phone or a tablet, iOS or Android or Windows, to approve or reject the records waiting for your approval. We are now going to look at two workflow templates for approving the changes to EFT vendors and customers. In the first one, the workflow template will simply notify the approvers via email that there are records for them to approve or reject, but they will still go and use the EFT vendor or customer screen to do the approval or rejection. In the second one, we're going to notify the approvers via email, and the approver can either use the Workflow console to approve or reject the record, or the Workflow Anywhere app to approve or reject the record, or can use the Remote Action Service to approve or reject the record without having to log into Sage 300. And in all these three cases, the person who did the initial change is sent an email when the change is approved or rejected. And we're going to use EFT vendors in both instances, but the same process can work on EFT customers. In the first example, Nancy is going to update the EFT vendor. EFT will automatically set the status for the EFT vendor to entered, and the workflow template will automatically get started because the status has been amended, and it will send an email to Anne and then complete the workflow instance. When Anne receives the email, she'll go back to the EFT vendor screen and update the status to active. In this first example, we have a very simple workflow template which is attached to the EFT vendor's status field. So whenever the status field changes, the user is assigned to Anne, and Anne is sent an email notifying her that the status field has changed. Logged in as Nancy, when she makes a change to the EFT vendor's records, as we saw previously, the status immediately goes back to entered. But the workflow has also kicked in and sent Anne an email to alert her that this EFT vendor is now waiting for approval. Anne receives the email that vendor 1200 Orchid Systems EFT details has changed, and the change was done by Nancy on the 23rd of August. And so back in Sage 300, logged in as Anne, she can go to that EFT vendor record, check the details, and if she's happy, she can change the status to active or leave it entered or inactive if the details are not correct. We have now seen the very simple example of notifying the approvers via email when there's a record for them to approve. Now we're going to look at a second workflow template where the approvers are sent an email when there's a record waiting for them to approve, and they will be able to approve either by using the Workflow console, the Workflow Anywhere app, or Remote Action Service if they don't need to log into Sage 300 first. And then the person who did the initial change will be sent an email when the record has been approved or rejected. In this second example, Susan's going to create the EFT vendor record. EFT will automatically set the status to entered, and because the status field has changed, Extender Workflow is going to automatically kick in and create a workflow instance. It's going to create the approval form in AWS. It's going to send an email to the accounts group. When Anne receives the email, she's going to review the form in AWS. She's going to review the instance using the Workflow Anywhere app, and then she's going to use the console to approve the EFT record. Once approved, Extender is going to set the vendor's status to active and log the change has happened, and send Sue an email to say that her changes have been approved, and then complete the workflow instance. In this example, the workflow template has a few more steps, as there are different steps we want to do when a new EFT vendor is created as opposed to when an EFT vendor's records are amended. In either case, the workflow instance gets assigned to a group called Accounts. And this workflow template is attached to the EFT vendor record to the status field when it changes. And the workflow is assigned to the accounts group, and these are the members of the accounts group. Logged in as Susan, we're going to create a new EFT vendor record. And when the record is created, the workflow instance is created, and all the members of the accounts group are sent an email to go ahead and approve or reject these details. And Susan receives a message accordingly. The status remains entered on the EFT vendor until such time as it's approved. Anne receives an email with the details of the new EFT vendor that Susan has created. And she can either click here to approve or reject on the workflow console if she's in the office, or she can click on the remote action link to use the remote website if she is not in the office and would like to approve or reject from there. Or if Anne has been assigned as a workflow app user, she can connect to the same company and review all her workflow instances on her mobile device, in this case my phone, and I could approve or reject from here. But assuming she is in the office and clicks on the workflow console link, and all the workflow instances that are due for her approval, either because of the group she is in or that they've been assigned directly to her, will be visible. And from here she can drill down and see the details. Or she could reassign, approve, or reject. When working on your workflow console, you can also sort the workflow instances by type. For example, if I was only interested in seeing my accounts type workflow instances, I can filter on the accounts group. Or I could filter by applying a filter to see only those workflow instances from a certain template. And if I was happy to approve these details, I could click Approve. This workflow template has a comment, which is mandatory to approve. And when the workflow instance is approved, it drops off the console. It will send Susan an email telling her that the details have been approved, and it will log the instance, and it will update the EFT vendor status to active. In EFT processing, the vendor record has been marked active. In the Extender workflow summary log, we can see that Susan submitted the vendor details for approval and Anne approved. And we can see the approval comment that Anne entered. And Sue receives an email that the vendor 1202 Orchid Systems EFT vendor account details record has been approved by Anne. We have now seen two examples of two different business processes of notifying people when a record has been changed and needs approval, and also using the Extender workflows to do the approval as well. Using Extender, you have a full history of who did what when, and it's able to send configurable emails at any step along the way. The benefits of using Extender with EFT detail approval process is you have automated alerts and notifications of records waiting for approvals, the automated alerts and notifications of records that have been approved, and a full audit trail of the approval process.
Vendor payments are an important part of continuous accounting. Electronic funds transfer, EFT in short, provides a solid base to automate the payment process. Using SFTP, Secure File Transfer Protocol, with EFT processing offers additional advantages in terms of security, compliance, and efficiency. SFTP is a secure and encrypted protocol that ensures the confidentiality and integrity of data during file transfers, and this is one of the main reasons why people use it. With EFT processing for Sage 300, you can automate the SFTP transfer of the file by configuring the details in EFT Bank. When you create an EFT file, the file is automatically uploaded to the SFTP site. This is documented in the help for EFT that we're currently looking at, and this is what I'm now going to demonstrate. I'm now in Orchid's EFT processing. I have created an AP payment batch and I want to generate the file and upload the EFT file to the bank's FTP site. I'm going to select the batch, enter a description. When I create, EFT is generating the file and uploading it to the FTP site. In this example, I don't have access to a bank site, but my own FTP server that I've connected to. I'm using FileZilla instead of the banking software to show you that the file has been uploaded. Refresh, and that is today's file. If I go and create another file, EFT will create the file, upload it to the bank, go back to FileZilla, refresh, and see that a new file has been uploaded. As you can see, I have named the file in a way that is unique based on the date of the upload and a unique daily run number. And this is all configured in EFT Bank. I'm going to show you quickly the setup. Most of what you're familiar with in EFT processing is configured the same way, whether you use SFTP or other output destination. We have different options to connect, and that should cater for most of the bank site requirements. You can configure how to name the file depending on the bank's requirement. In this case, we use the creation date and a run number that is reset every day to make the file unique. And of course, you still have access to all the file types that are available in EFT. This is all documented in the help, and many banks actually provide access to an SFTP server, so this is an option that you should discuss with your bank.
Moving on now to Extender and how Extender can help with continuous accounting. Extender is a cost-effective way to configure, customize, and extend Sage 300. It can cater for business requirements that can't be met by out-the-box Sage 300. It lets you streamline accounting processes with workflows, alerts, and notifications, all critical for continuous accounting. You can use with Sage core modules or third-party modules which have been developed in the Sage 300 SDK. And all configurations and scripts are held within your Sage 300 database, which is critical from a backup perspective. So you can configure how your Sage 300 environment works with codeless configuration, alerts and notifications, logging and workflows. You can customize your Sage environment with Python scripting, view-level business logic changes, which would include validations, changing defaults, and automation. Screen changes, so you can change the existing screens or create your own new ones. And tables, so if you need additional information in Sage 300, you can create your own new tables with associated logic. Further, you can extend what Sage 300 is doing beyond Sage 300. You can run external applications, and you can also integrate in real time with other systems, which is critical once again from the perspective of continuous accounting. I'll now pass you on to Natalie to run through how Extender can help with continuous accounting and Sage 300.
As we've discussed in a recent blog, if continuous accounting means using automation to fully process financial events in real time, Extender is a key component to enhance Sage 300 incrementally, from simple automations and real-time alerts to integration with external applications. In this part of the presentation, we're going to demonstrate two main scenarios. First, we're going to look at continuous accounting in the context of Sage 300 order entry, demonstrating Extender, notes, and document management link with real-time notes, integration to Microsoft Teams and SharePoint, and automating some key tasks in the sales process. We will then look at continuous accounting in the purchasing process with a demonstration of approving purchase orders using Remote Action Service for users to approve the purchase without logging on to Sage 300. In this part of the presentation, we will use Extender, Notes, and Document Management link to focus on the Sage order entry screen to demonstrate automations that help companies enjoy the benefits of continuous accounting. We'll demonstrate entering a new order in Sage 300. Extender will warn us if the sales margin is low. The Extender workflow has been configured to post a notification in Microsoft Teams when a new order is created in Sage 300. When we ship and invoice the order, Extender will automatically create a PDF of the invoice and email it to the invoice contacts configured against the customer using multiple contacts. Finally, back in Sage 300, the users can then view the invoices and other documents saved on the network folder, as well as in SharePoint, using Document Management link. Steve receives a purchase order from Custom Comfort for the new screens and desk pads, and he takes note of the agreed price of $140 for the large screens. He then logs into Sage 300 web screens to enter the order for customer 1500, enters the appropriate details, and when adding the detailed product, he has to overwrite the unit price to $140. When he posts the order, he gets a warning that the sales margin is less than the 10% minimum set for this company. We could have prevented the order from being saved, or we could have started an approval workflow for a manager to approve before the order can be shipped and invoiced. But in this scenario, it is just a warning. When I post a new order, a notification is automatically in real time pushed to Microsoft Teams so that team members receive a notification and can view the details of the new order. Team members can then log into Sage 300 to check the order. You'll notice that they have access in real time to information and documents about the customer and the order. In particular, they can access contracts saved in Microsoft SharePoint and visible integrated with the Sage 300 OE screen. And click on the file and it opens the document in SharePoint so that I can check the contract. I can also see in real time that the average price for that item this customer last year was $177, which gives me an idea of the discount that I'm giving them this particular year. In the next step of the process, I'm going to ship and invoice the order. This will automatically create and email the PDF of the invoice, file it in a folder that is visible from Document Management link, and it's also going to automatically email the invoice to the customers. And it's using the configuration for multiple contacts in Sage 300. I can use Extender to automate some of these printing and emailing tasks that are part of your sales process. In the demonstration, we display messages when the PDF is generated or emailed, as it's harder to demonstrate tasks happening in the background, but such notifications are optional. You can turn them off for a more automated process. The invoice has been emailed to the customer email addresses as configured in Sage 300. In this case, we're using multiple contacts, so contacts flagged to receive an OE invoice. So automations through Extender still use all the Sage 300 configuration that you're familiar with. On the side here, we can see that an email has been received by Natalie Harper of Custom Comfort. And if I go and check the mailbox, see I've received an email with an invoice PDF that has all the detail, including the custom pricing. And just as the documents can be made available for viewing in order entry, we can configure the same documents to be available in the customer inquiry screen. For Custom Comfort, I can see a list of all invoices that have been sent in the past to Custom Comfort. And as I'm navigating through the documents in Customer Inquiry, it's filtering, and the top box is now showing me the latest invoice. I also still have access to my documents, my contract documents in SharePoint. Our scenario demonstrated how we can use Extender, Notes, and Document Management Link to integrate Sage 300 order entry in real time to other applications such as network folders, SharePoint, Microsoft Teams, and automate key tasks for a more efficient sales and accounting process. Let's now look at how Extender can support continuous accounting in the purchasing process. The company wants to approve purchase requisitions and purchase orders entered in Sage 300 PO module. They configure workflow using Orchid Extender to control who can approve requisitions and POs based on the amount. This PO approval workflow is designed to be started automatically when requisition and purchase orders are posted in Sage 300. The process is similar for requisitions and purchase orders. When a user posts a requisition or a PO, the workflow sets the requisition on hold until the request is approved. The approver depends on the purchase amount and who enters the PO. Some approvers want to approve without logging into Sage 300 using the remote action service. So we're going to demonstrate an example of approving a PO using the remote action service, where approvers can approve using a one-time link and a form on an AWS website, all without opening anything in Sage 300. Logged into Sage 300, I'm going to create a new purchase order. Enter all the details, including Orchid Systems as a vendor. I can see previous purchase orders. Total is about over $5,000. When I click post, a few things are happening. The workflow starts automatically. The PO is put on hold in the background automatically. And in real time, an email is sent to the approver. A form is created on the remote action service website for the remote approval. Let's now look at the email the approver has received. PO 120 for vendor 1200 with a total, giving me detail about the workflow status, that it only needs to be approved by the controller. I can click on this one-time link and that will open the form on the remote action service website where I can review the detail, enter my comment. So as you can see, I have a choice of approving or rejecting as if I was on the workflow console on the desktop. All this without logging into Sage 300. Back in Sage 300, in the background, automatically a schedule is run that pulls the details from the Remote Action website. You can see it has been successful. I can schedule this to run as often as I want to make sure my approvals are done in real time. And if I look at the purchase order 120, you can see it's not on hold anymore. The PDF has been printed and saved in the folder. I can double click on it and view the details. And that is done using a combination of the workflow to generate the PDF and document management link to display the document. If I look on the little icons on the screen, I can view the purchase approval history, whatever has happened to the PO. I could also open that screen straight from the Extender inquiry screen. You can see it was started by admin, needed a controller approval, and was then approved by Anne. So I have access to all the information in real time. I can view Anne's comment, and I can also view that the approval was done not using the console. So it was done using Remote Action Service. I've also configured it to update optional fields with the status. The fact that this PO was approved by the controller is recorded directly against the PO as well. It can be used in reports for more real-time information. If you want more detail about this particular workflow and other workflow templates, you can have a look at the Extender help. In the workflow tutorial section, we have a series of workflow examples, including a more detailed description of what's happening with the purchase requisition and purchase approval module. One last thing I'm going to show you is using the Workflow Anywhere app. In this example, I'm going to log on to the Windows app, but it is also available for mobile devices, Apple and Android tablets and phones. You can see I've got a list of all the approvals that I need to attend to, including some AR receipt examples, credit limit approval, sales orders, purchases, new GL accounts, approval for NRMA, as well as some other notifications. One option is Remote Action, which is one by one. Workflow Anywhere, which requires iOS, is an app that gives you a mobile workflow console. For more details, I'd encourage you to have a look at the Orchid website, including a section on Remote Action Service and another page on the Workflow Anywhere app with detailed description of how it works.
Lastly, let's have a look at Process Scheduler and how it can assist with continuous accounting. The Process Scheduler lets you run critical recurring processes automatically. It automates important repetitive tasks within one or across companies, runs processes unattended in off-peak hours if that's what's needed, and allows you to configure email notifications and detailed logging so you can see exactly what's happened. It works very well with other Orchid modules and can be used in that fashion to assist with continuous accounting. So it works with Report Runner for running Crystal reports, GL financial reports to send to other people, Info Explorer for refreshing and distributing cubes for analysis purposes, and Extender for scripts for time-based alerts, notifications, and integration. It's available at different levels as well, so depending on what type of automation you're after, you may need one of the 3 different levels. And let's have a look at exactly how it can be used to improve automation and achieve continuous accounting.
Using Process Scheduler, you can create as many schedules as you want, and then these schedules can then be set to run daily, weekly, monthly, hourly, whenever you need to run them. They can run across multiple companies, and can run any number of Sage 300 repetitive tasks. For example, this one runs a day-end in multiple companies and then posts the resulting day-end batches. In terms of automation, Process Scheduler allows you to post any number of combinations of AP, AR, OE, IC, PO, GL batches, and you can have these fit in with your processing requirements, either in real time or near real time per module. You are able to open and close fiscal periods, run the general ledger, consolidations, exports and imports, and run extender scripts or custom programs for custom business process automations and integrations. For example, you could have an automated currency revaluation or recurring invoice creation process run monthly. In terms of automated reporting, you can distribute Info Explorer cubes. You can distribute Crystal reports and GL financial reports configured in Report Runner, all on a schedule that suits that particular report. And for integration, you can run extender scripts and custom programs for systems integration.
Hopefully this has given you some pointers as to how Sage 300 and Orchid will help you achieve real-time or close to real-time processing where transactions are processed continuously as they occur, automation of routine tasks such as reconciliations and journal entries using technology, and integration resulting in the seamless data flow between accounting and other business processes and systems. If you'd like further information on any of these modules, please have a look at our website, www.orchid.systems. And now we'll open up for any questions you may have.